want to tell you guys today a little bit about what I'm doing with VisitDays, what the company does, and sort of where we are. We've started around 4 years ago, based in Washington, D.C., and recently moved to New York City. VisitDays quintessentially allows prospective students to quickly engage with the admissions office, primarily at undergraduate and graduate schools across the country. And fundamentally what VisitDays does, it makes it super simple for a prospective student to show up on a university's website and with a click of a button, schedule a visit. These visits can be meeting a professor, it could be sitting in a class, it could be taking a tour. But essentially we take out all the administrative tasks in the back end that relate to basically connecting the prospective students with the people of the institution and make it super simple. Almost think of the scheduling experience as, an open table or a ZocDoc. It's just instant. The prospective student and family knows exactly what they're going to get. And VisitDays enables enables the institution to, after that scheduling process, to communicate with that student via emails and text messages to actually get them to show up. Once they show up, we check them in, and then we collect a survey. And all this data is in our dashboard, which is a SaaS solution that we sell to the institution, which we marry with their existing data that they have in their CRM to give them the ability to really understand the population that is most likely to enroll. I started this company on my parents' kitchen table, and these beautiful couple right here are my parents. Both my parents are professors, and over almost 4.5 years ago now, the story is that my father he's a professor in the business school in a school in Connecticut, and he was invited to be the keynote speaker at the open house. And the story goes that he was really excited. He's a really good speaker, very excited for being the keynote speaker, and went after the admissions office for some data. So this open house is probably their largest event. It is one of the most critical events of the institution in order for them to meet their enrollment goals. So it's a really big deal. And so he asked the admissions office, hey, can you tell me a little bit about who's coming, like how many people, what their demographic information is, what are they interested in, all the basics that you'd want to know about a crowd you're presenting to. And the admissions office didn't respond to him. And he kept asking them, didn't respond. And he finally went up to the VP of enrollment and said, what's going on? Well, why isn't there, what are we doing? And the VP of enrollment explained to him, we have a CRM, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on it, but there's only like one person that can really do anything with it. And that person is spread thin already. And so my dad was a little perplexed. He's like, so we don't even know, like do we know how many people are actually showing up? Do we know what they're interested in? And he's like, we kind of do, but we don't really know how to get that data to you really efficiently right now. And so he was like, all right, well, that sounds great. And he shows up at this open house, and to his surprise, 900 students showed up from all over the country. This is a small institution in Connecticut. And so my father decided to present about the business school. That was what he knew. He didn't know much about what the audience wanted, but he knew very well everything about the business school. So he brought all of his business school professors and students and everyone together, and he started presenting about the business school. And he realized no one cared. Everyone was fidgeting with their phones. No one was really engaged with what he was saying. So he stops the presentation. And he looks at the audience and he says, raise your hand if you're interested in the School of Business. And out of the 900 people that showed up, not a single person raised their hand. He had a feeling that everyone was interested in the criminal justice program. This is what the institution was #1 for. And so he asked them that, and behold, 99% of the room raised their hand. It was a very obvious mismatch. And he looked at me and he goes, somebody ought to really solve this problem. And 2 weeks later, I quit my job at the advisory board in DC, and I went off to solve the problem. And what I found, from the beginning and inception of the company, we went out to the institutions and we essentially sold them a very simple concept. Make it super simple to understand what the student needs to know about the visit itself, who they're meeting, why they're meeting them, and let the institution across the board be able to access this data without having a whole lot of training. Can you build dashboards? Can you build this data set that anyone can access, from an intern to a junior admissions counselor all the way to the VP of enrollment? And this has been the growth that we've had so far. We started off at 12 institutions, and now in 2017, we're almost at 65 with our first system-wide deal with the CUNY system, and sort of scaling, and now at this stage, over close to 800,000 students have now scheduled a visit. So over time, we've scaled pretty well. I'm going to skip over this for a second. So essentially, the enterprise solution in the back end allows the institution, just to give you some screenshots, it allows the institution to see who's coming, who their parents are, what they've done historically at the institution, gives a real clean snapshot of the student itself. All the data that we have integrates into the CRMs that education institutions are using already, from Ellucian, Slate, Hobson's, and Salesforce. For the prospective student, this is kind of the interface. It's really simple to see what's available, who's available to meet, and be able to book and get onto their calendars instantly. VisitDays not only schedules for the student and communicates to the prospective student, but it allows everyone at the institution to know what's going on. So this gets onto the calendars of everyone at the institution itself, gives them reminders, as well as gives them analytics on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to give them insights as to which type of visitors are coming on campus. Prospective students can also instantly request to meet existing students. So Boston College Carroll School of Management uses it for their MBA program. Prospective students can actually request to have coffee meetings with existing students that fit their profile, whether they're international students or whether they're domestic with a specific commonality between the two parties. And that's about it. I'm going to wrap it up. If anyone has any questions, I'll be in the back to answer them. Thank you.